Good morning, everybody. It's Connie, and I am a little bit earlier than normal on Friday, but I have some errands to run today. Jen is on vacation, and so we've decided to start early, go do a few errands before the weather. We're supposed to get some bad weather today. So today I want to show you a technique that Jennifer McGuire showed. So you can sure go to Jennifer McGuire's website and see this in different ways, different techniques, but I want to show you what it is. Basically, let me show you a couple of finished cards that I made. Okay, so here's one, and I used an embossing folder that Karen brought over the other day with lemons on it. It's an old Stampin' Up! 3D embossing folder. And I embossed the limeade with the lemons. And then I embossed a white piece of paper with lemons. And then used coloring on the images and swiped over it in black. So the black ink catches that raised area and you get varying effects, okay? So I thought this was a cute use of that embossing folder. I also made this card, unrelated. I just embossed it and sanded the top edges of the raised area, and that makes it sand white because, the close to my heart paper is white core. And that's one of the benefits of using white core paper is that you can sand it and distress it. It will look white on the inside. So I just thought those two cards were kind of cool. But this is the card. I want to show you this technique, how to make that. Okay, so let me show you an embossing folder. I used a 3D embossing folder. This is the Zinnia embossing folder. And when you put your paper into the folder, if you feel the sides, really look at the sides, you'll notice that one side is super raised. That doesn't work. Looking for something dark to show you. One side is just the outlines of the images, and the other side is more flat, and it's like the images are pushed into the paper. So when you do this technique, you get two different, embosses, right? One side is just the raised bumps or outline of your images, and the other side is more of a smooth where the outlines are indented or inverted. And when you're doing this technique, you want to make sure the side you want to show is popped up. So if you're going to swipe over this with black or dark ink, it's going to be almost all black because the raised area is all the middle of the image. So you want to make sure if you're going to do it, you want to do it where it's just the outlines raised up. Okay, I know sometimes your eyes can play tricks on you on camera and it can look the opposite. All right, so let me show you one more card that I did. This was an embossing folder. This embossing folder, if we did this side, I started to ink this side. This is I did it before I embossed it. What I did was I kind of laid the folder down and kind of guesstimated where I would need color. Like if this is not the right folder, but if it was, I'd lay it here and I'd be like, okay, there's a flower there. There's a thing there. And I just brush on color where in approximately wherever I need it. That's what I did. And then I realized if I put black over this image, all of these nice flat areas are going to be black, and the background is what's going to show in color, and I didn't color it right, so I had to do the other side. So I went ahead and I colored, I re-sponged, re-blended on the other side where it's indented, and then when the black swipes over, you get this kind of cool blackout effect. And I tried it with different colors. It's got to be a dark enough color to cover up your blended ink, right? Which is black or a super dark navy. And so Karen was like, try it with blue. And so here we go. Here is the navy blue card that we did. We used sapphire, and we made it into a shaker, which is really kind of cool because with the shaker card, those sequins almost look like bubbles in the water, which is really kind of a neat effect. Anyway, so what we did here was, I colored the indented part and then swiped over with navy sapphire ink, and then let that dry before I cut it down and made it into the shaker. And then you might notice, here's another one of those die cuts that I cut out of that Full of Life rainbow paper. And this one I used shimmer brush to color for the fish, just to get another element on there. But I just thought that was kind of a cool effect. So that's what I used that for. And I thought, I want to save that and show you, how that looks. I just think that's really neat. I was looking at my camera right now, and I realized last week when I was showing scrapbook layouts, I had my camera way far away from my desk so you could see a full 12-inch layout. And then when I started doing littler things, it was like, I felt like I was really far away. So apologize. The other thing Karen had was she had these, she had the sand dollars die cut, which I have not purchased yet. And I was like, gosh, that would be really cool on here, So I just wanted to show you how neat that is. I cut that out of the that rainbow wash paper. Look at that. And I would probably even ink that more, but I just thought that was cool. Okay, another example. If you do the dark onto the raised bumps, you get this kind of image. This is a tiled embossing folder. And then if you do it on the flat side, you get mostly black on your image, and the only thing that shows are the little edges of the tile. Both are kind of interesting for different reasons, so just pay attention to which side you're inking up because, live and learn. Anyway, so there's that. Now the card we're going to make today is this one. Or we're not going to make the whole card. We're going to make most of it. I'm going to show you how to do it. So it's a fun fold sort of card where you open it up, and on the inside we have that blackout technique. And then on this inside, I have a black piece of cardstock using just white embossing. And I was going to show that today, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to not show that today, and I want to show you how to do the rest of the card. So let me first, let's first ink up our flowers, and that way they can dry a little bit. I went ahead and embossed that zinnia cardstock, and just a scrap piece. And I have the side that has the raised outline. And I decided this one I'm just going to do in a couple tones of pink. I'm not going to do a bunch. I might do the green. Let me grab green here. I think I'll do avocado green. Get a brush for that. Okay, so we can start with the green, that's fine. All right, so let me get my little silicone mat. And we'll get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do, ink up my brush a little bit. I'm only gonna use a small panel, so I don't need to do the entire thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and just ink into the areas where there are leaves. And this is not an exact procedure. It doesn't need to be. When you swipe over this with the black ink, so little of it really will show. I mean, if you look at this, it doesn't really matter if a little bit of color runs in. Like, you know, I've got a little pink in the leaf or whatever. Nah, just not important. All right, so I just want to hit the center areas where green, in case I use that section. Okay, that's pretty good. I think that's most of the green. I'm going to put that aside. Now, I decided to use 2 colors of pink on this one, and I didn't have a light pink blending brush, so I went ahead and got a new one out. One thing I noticed is that Stampin' Up! Has a small size blending brush, which is kind of a cool thing, because I use those little teeny ones, but they're almost too small for what sometimes, and these are almost too big sometimes. So I'm like, I love the idea of having a couple of sizes. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of this light color, and the only reason I'm doing as much as I am is because I'm not sure where I'm going to cut it yet. All right. And then I'm going to get out my rosy, and rosy is almost red, so I use my red blending brush. Now see, this one is a small one, that it's a makeup brush that I bought. It's flimsier a little bit than, it's a little like flimsier than my others, but it works fine. And especially if I hold it like this, it works fine. For the money, you know, you can't go wrong. All right, so I'm pushing that color into the centers of those flowers. And I don't care if the surface, I don't care if the surface is done. I need to get that background, because when I run that black over that surface, it's all going to be black. So you need to get it into those spots or it won't work. Now, what black do you use? Well, we tried it. Karen and I were playing the other day. We tried it with several blacks. I tried the Close to My Heart black, works great. We tried the Memento black, and it works good, but my Memento needs re-inked, so it was a little sketchy. This VersaFine black works great, and that is Versamark, VersaFine. The VersaFine Claire works great. So any of these will work. So I'm just going to use Close to My Heart black because I have a feeling that's what most of you probably have. And let me grab, I'm just going to grab some scratch paper. You don't have to if you're using an all-purpose mat, but it's just easier. Okay, and especially sometimes I like to fold a corner over and use that to hold, hold my paper because messy. All right, I'm just going to start by, you can swipe like this. Look at that. And try to keep your stamp pad at a bit of an angle or totally flat. And the more you go over it, the more black you're gonna get. On this one, I just wanted to hit the edges of the flowers so they look like outlined, okay? Now on this one, I did the other side. So when you hit this other side with black, then you get this effect, right? Because most of it is black. You don't have to do it that way. I thought today, let's do it a little softer. So this is the way I did it today. I think it looks really nice. And I'm going to let that dry for just a moment while I show you how to make this card. So this is a standard A2 card. It'll fit in your standard folder. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But you start with, like I started with an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper, but you can start with a 12-inch piece, and that's fine too. The main thing is you chop it at 5 1/2, a 5 1/2 strip, and then you score it at 4 1/4. So the main big deal is that this panel is standard A2, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then make your score. Now you decide how you want this folded over. Well, how much do you want to show? And I made this one 3 1/2, which on an 11-inch piece of paper just leaves this at 3 1/4. And so I went 3 1/2, scored it, Now we're ready to make our cut. And what I do is I put it in my trimmer so that I put it in at an angle. So when you put your paper in, you remember it's like a full piece of paper. You want to put it so that this corner is on the track, and then you want to measure here however long you want it to be. Now, it can be 2 inches, it can be 4 inches, it can be 3 inches. I did 3 1/2. It doesn't matter as long it'll just show a different amount. So what I did was I put this end right here at the 4 1/4 mark. I put that on my track, and then I made a little tick mark at the 3 1/2 inch, and then I lined up the tick mark and cut. And that gives me a slope. And the slope is not an exact science. The main deal about the whole thing is that the slope, this back panel stays your 4 1/4. So you have to start there and slope in. And it doesn't matter what slope you use. I mean, you could use, if you used like a 2-inch slope, it would be more like this, it would be more sharp, but it doesn't matter because you're just wanting the slope. And then the 2 score lines like that. Now, I put just my front flap into my embossing folder and ran that through my machine. So you open it up and you put that in wherever you want it, like that. You can see that's kind of where I put it right there. And then you close it and you run it through. And that's how I got the front panel embossed, and it's very pretty just the way it is. The back panel, I just cut a piece of black and I stamped my images on. Let me go ahead and just get out my stamps. I don't need my dies right now, just my stamps. And I'm going to go ahead and put the 2 flowers on my block. Okay. There's that. Okay. So on my card that I'm making, if you look at it, I did the back side with this just tone on tone black pattern, because when you accordion fold, you do see that. Now you could put your, your image that you made, in here, and that would show, but I just wanted it to be nice and soft. So I have one ready to roll. I'm going to put my black panel here with this embossed, and then I'm going to put this blackout panel on here. So when the card is folded, I want this panel right here to be that black and white. So when I stamp that, I'm just going to stamp using the 3 flowers like that. And I'm going to use a scratch piece paper to keep it from going on to the other surfaces. So, all right. So I'm going to ink that up. Now these cling stamps already have a cushion, so I don't need to put another cushion onto my panel or onto my surface, but you can if you want. It's just not necessary. All right, I'm going to use scratch piece of paper, kind of like a mask, and I'm going to stamp and pressure just like that. All right, I really love how that looks. I would stop, but the problem is I want it to show, so I need it at the top as well. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up again. And I'm going to use my mask at this one because I don't want it on the back past that score mark. So I'm going to put that up to the score mark, and I'm going to stamp. If it overlaps, not a big deal. Like that. And then I'm like, well, I might as well finish it off with a little something, in that corner so that the whole panel is done, right? Because it looks very empty there. So again, I'm going to put my mask against that score, and I'm going to kind of fill in that space like that. Ta-da! Just like that. Now the other thing I could do, there's a little dotted stamp in here that just has like a little dotted pattern. And if I feel like, I need more, you can always like kind of fill in some of that space with some dots. It's up to you. I mean, to me, it's just a collage-y look. You can keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, but there's what shows. I almost need something right there, don't I? Let me real quick just do the edge of a flower. And this will be upside down, but I don't care. There, done it. Okay, now let me wipe off my surface because I don't know if I got ink on it or not, but I don't want black ink all over the place. Okay, so now I have this panel and I'm ready to do the inside. Look how pretty. Just black and white would be really nice. You know what I mean? I mean, that's really nice. I need to cut a black piece, but I don't. Do I have one at my desk? I don't know. Let me see what I've got. All my pieces are a little small. Oh, there's one. Okay. Let me cut that. Now this one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I need to cut it down 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to make it 4 by 5 1/4. And that piece will go in here. Now, it's really simple to emboss. You know, you could do tone on tone black and just stamp it, but you would need a white gel pen or something to write your message. And I really liked how this looked with the flower being white. Like it's like the opposite, you know, it looked really cool. And so I'm going to wait and I'll emboss that later. So I'm not going to attach this yet, but I want to show you how to attach our centerpiece, because that's like, what are the measurements? How do you do that? And everybody's angle is going to be different. And so here's what we know. We know the center section. Remember, this was 4 1/4, this was 3 1/2, and this was 3 1/4. So we know the center section is 3 1/2 inches wide. So we're going to take our blackout piece and we're going to cut this. If we cut it to 3 1/2, it'll go edge to edge. So let's cut it to 3 1/4 and just find an area where you've inked it well and cut it to, you know, 3 1/4. Okay. Now we also want to chop off this bottom part where we did not do a good job. I say we, where I did not do a good job. Now, if you just attach this and cut it, it's going to go all the way to the top. And here we are leaving a border all around. We'd like a border at the top, right? So what I'm going to do, I know this border is about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to bump it to 1/4 of an inch. Just hold it in place and flip it over. And then you can use a pencil or something and you can draw a line. Or if you're daring, like I don't usually draw a line, I usually just cut it, okay? But I'm showing you how to do this. We're gonna go ahead and cut this on the line. And here is our panel. And because we bumped it up to 1/4 of an inch, when we slide it back down into place, it'll have the, you know, 1/8 of an inch that we like on all the sides. So there is the inside panel. Gosh, it's really pretty. I kind of like this one better than the other one even. So I'm just going to glue that in place. And this glue is liquid, so I can slide it around. Now, I don't know how, it feels a little damp still, but that's okay. Oh, it's okay. All right, so let me just wipe my hands a little bit on my rag just in case. Here I have this beautiful white card and my hands are all inky. Okay, and then, so this is what the card basically looks like. It's a fold. You've got the white embossed panel. You've got the black and white stamped panel. Almost looks like toile, or isn't toile? Okay, and then when it opens, it's got that cool blackout effect that we created. And then on the inside, we are going to put a black piece with the embossing. So that will be what our inside will look like. This is just, you know, heat embossed with white powder. And I went ahead and used one of the messages from this stamp set. And I love the thank you so much on the front, so I added that with some black dots, the black and white. Wow, 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 right? Isn't that pretty? This would be kind of a pretty sympathy card too. But look at that. Cool. And then we have this one, which once we get our messages on, you can kind of see what that'll look like. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. So once again, that's basically the whole shebang. Let me show you the cards. We have this one that we made. And then here's a panel, and here's one that we used to make an all over shaker with the different colors. This was fun because it was such bold colors. That was really fun. And then here's one that we did with the lemon slices and just a really bold background. Karen and I, when we made this one, we both went, bleh, that's ugly. What are you gonna do with a panel that is so black and yellow? Gross. But I used it in a smaller part, and it really seems to work, right? And then I made this one just not blackout. I just sanded. And then here's the two pieces of the front and back of your embossing, depending on which you choose. So there are my samples. And so I hope that you try this and please share, because everybody's got different embossing folders. It seems like it works a little better on the 3D folders because they have such a raised portion. But you know, honestly, I think it would work on a regular embossing folder. So my next one I want to try it on is a one of the close to my heart floral ones. That Stampin' Up! Has that super 3D rose. That would be a really interesting one to try. I just don't have a gob of ones with images. Most of my embossing folders are like backgrounds, like the metal sheet and things like that. So I want to see what you do. I am in love with this technique. It's really fun. And Jennifer McGuire showed it too. So you can go to her YouTube page and see what she did with it. I just think this is really fun. So, and it's so daring to swipe over. Yee. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Stay safe from all the storms.